Okay. Okay, Chris. So first of all, thank you for granting us this interview. It's a pleasure and an honor. So I think that the first question has to be how did you meet Leslie, and how this project started for you?
The project started for me, well, it's a long time ago, I think maybe 25 years ago, I think.
Okay.
Could that be possible? I don't know.
I'm afraid yes.
Yeah, maybe. Manfred Mann's Earth Band, we played in 1984 in Budapest. And one of the technicians, we filmed it and recorded it. And one of the technicians was a fellow with big hair called George. I can't remember what his Hungarian name was. And
usually it's also hard to pronounce.
And we got talking during that, and he took my phone number, and we kind of didn't speak. And then he just called me out of the blue and said, "Look, I work for Leslie Mandoki, and we've got this project, and would you like to come and do a show?" It was as simple as that. And I said, sure. So I had to learn a whole bunch of material, and we did a show, and Leslie kept asking me back, and until now.
Awesome.
So,
sometimes it hasn't to be necessarily like hard.
No, that's
awesome.
That's how things normally come, as you know.
Great. So I also see that you had the chance to work with Pavarotti, or get in touch with Pavarotti.
No, he calls me the Pavarotti of rock, but it's got nothing to do with me knowing him. Had you had the chance to enjoy his music? Yeah, of course. I've seen him a couple of times when I lived in London. I saw him.
Well, he was great in the way that he was able to bring opera back to people, which is something that it's something that music always should do. It's like bring people together, not even thinking about differences, but just like enjoying the good time. So this is the first time here in New York, or?
No, I've been to New York many times. First time I played the Beacon Theatre was in 1975, when I was just come out.
How do you see the city has changed? Like
the city? It's changed so much. A lot more people. But I mean, in real terms, I suppose it's not changed at all. Still yellow cabs.
Well, I think that's the.
You can still hail a cab and go anywhere you want.
Well, my father first came here in 1969, and he used to say that especially the West Village, where was the place where artists used to hang out. That was the place where artists hang out because it was extremely cheap, extremely dirty, and you had mice everywhere, basically. Nowadays is way more fancy, it's cleaner, but it's also like absurdly expensive. So.
And I mean, New York is, as you say, it kind of, when I first came to 70, I suppose it stopped in Greenwich. That's where you didn't go any further than that. Now you go all the way down to the Brooklyn Bridges, and you can walk. I mean, it's I suppose it's expanded like every other. But I love New York. It's very special. I'm very excited to be here.
Great. Let's say. So this is a collective initiative. When it comes to your personal path in music, what would you like to say that you find yourself now in your career, or your evolution as an interpreter?
Well, I think first of all, I'm very lucky to still be, making a living doing music, because a lot of people I know that I started with and did music, they're not doing that anymore. And especially I grew up in New Zealand, so to come out of a little place called Hamilton in New Zealand, and that was when I left there in 1972, and to be here 2018 in New York City, still making music.
Really cool.
Yeah, it's very nice. And I guess if you kind of development-wise, I think I've been working very hard to try and be a significant being good at songwriting, because that's something that I love to do, and I think it's a process like this, and I've been lucky enough to have a couple of successes with things that I've written, and I'm right in the middle of writing a musical project, and it's got a lot of new songs, well, all new songs, and that's very exciting. So I'm at a place
that
now
would be your
I
first
can
time?
combine the two.
You see your music.
It's the first time that I've done something like that. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I've been involved in kind of concept things. I work with Alan Parsons, and and I did War of the Worlds, which I don't know whether that was even successful in this country, but it was very successful in Europe with a guy called Jeff Wayne. It was a musical version of War of the Worlds. You know the story. The Martians come down, and So we did that as a musical.
Okay,
I did that for 6 or 7 years, not all the time, but so I've been involved in them. But this idea actually was based on something that I had when I first started in New Zealand. It's a very old idea, and it's been changed and changed and changed and changed, and now I think it's going to hit the surface.
Okay, where do you think? So where the project is based somewhere?
Well, it's based between. I live in Belgium, so it's based between.
Okay.
I'm writing it with my wife and with a company in Germany.
Oh, okay.
So we're putting it together. All the music is almost done. We're starting working on the script.
Okay.
Musicals don't have that much script, which is okay. And we're aiming to see it on the stage towards the end of next year, I think.
Okay, well, that's awesome. Yeah, well, so definitely we keep an eye on that, because it's a really interesting
Destination
project.
Broadway, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry. I'll hold it.
Yeah. Okay.
Come on.
I would also say, so nowadays, where do you think an artist can find the sparkles of inspiration? You think that it's still related to observation, or you think that because of the new technologies and the new opportunities, there is a new challenge out there for an artist, and because so much music has been done, so many melodies have already been written, so much has been done. How do you think, like a musician, I would say, should look? What do you think?
Well, I think you should always look around you for a start. I think, especially in New York. I think, and it's your own life, your own thoughts and experiences and things that get triggered off by watching something going on in the street or watching something on TV. But the inspiration always has to come from your heart, really. I think it always comes from personal experience, or somebody who knows experience, but it is very, very difficult because there are so many songs, so many melodies, and I found that writing the musical music, you have to be, I don't even know how it's possible actually to come up with things in a different, but I mean, if you look at the great composers, if you look at Beethoven or Bach, and it's still the same number of notes, but it's the way you put that together, and the timing, and the beat of it, and what's accompanying it on the bass end, or there's always a way to find another way to make whatever. I mean, if you just take Mary Had a Little Lamb, if you just take da 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 da, if you have that, and you just do it, make it a minor or whatever. You can do just about anything with a few notes.
Yeah, awesome. So one last question would be, because actually we had we talk about this point with Leslie. Now we have people who make music, and I would say on the other side we have listeners. And the relationship has changed because of the way music is distributed nowadays, and surely more than listeners, we are like consumers instead of listeners, of music lovers, and it seems that this has been an industry where musicians, players, and artists and listeners were on the same side of the fence. Recently, the way music is distributed, there is like a conflict of interest. It's like listeners was cheap at a cheap price, all the music they can listen to, and on the other side, people who make music and say, well, but this is not sustainable.
Well, it is
because somebody has to make a living out of this.
Yeah.
So, what do you think should change from the perception of consumers? Like, because millennials, this might be for them, or the next generation, this is the world they were born. They have no
Exactly.
idea how it was before.
Exactly.
So we have to make them aware.
Yeah. So it's education, the same as everything. You have to educate people to realize that music isn't free. It doesn't cost nothing. And if they want people to, be musicians and be full-time musicians and make music for them to listen to, then they're going to have to pay for it in some way or other. And I think people are looking at. I think that it's changing. I got a royalty statement the other day from like Google and Amazon and YouTube and iTunes. iTunes we've had for a while, but I got something from Google and something from Amazon and some things from YouTube that have finally found their way through all the different organizations. There are organizations like ASCAP and SAG in America and PRS in England and Europe, or Gamer in Germany, and they are looking for ways to create paths for listeners to pay for music. It has to be that, and you have to educate people to understand that everything
that's already
isn't
a
free.
symptom that something that there is some awareness, awareness on one side, and being willing to accept this, embrace this, and change the.
But on the other hand, I feel that we've lived through an age that can't sustain it, and it'll change. It'll be something else, and it already is. Computer games is what but there's music connected with computer games, so at least there's some kind of thing happening. And musicals, that's another way. I would say musical market is huge right now. So there are ways where people will go and they'll listen to music and they'll pay to do it. And of course, they'll pay to go and see Queen, they'll pay to go and see Pavarotti if he was still playing.
Sure.
They pay for what? I can't remember his name, the opera guy that's now. They will pay to see the Rolling Stones, and they'll pay hopefully to see Bruno Mars and all those people. And so have to spread it around a bit, though. It's become like radio.
I can tell you something, because I was a little bit in the middle of the process when it happened. At the beginning, when Guitar Hero came out, where you could like play with an instrument with just like as a keyboard. Many of my friends who were musicians were horrified. They said, "This is not the way you learn to play music. This is offensive." It turned out that a lot of young kids who had no passion about music, they were not interested at all, because they saw that they could make music out of an instrument. They fell in love with music, and they went from a toy to a real instrument, and that was
There's good things out of that.
Cool. So it's but I think that there must be awareness about the issue, and I would say the social effort to make everybody understand that this is a product of culture, and we should think about it. At least start thinking about it.
But it's if you think about it, it's what happened way back. When musicians couldn't live. I mean, they had a sponsor, somebody that would pay for them to sit around and write music. Otherwise, none of that music would have been there either. Beethoven and those guys, they had people sponsors. So I guess
it's a wheel.
It'll all change or not.
Yeah.
And then music will be lost in the way it is now. And I mean, who knows? I certainly.
Well, but it's good to have a conversation about it. That's why I try to push it. Okay. Okay, Chris, that was amazing.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'll give you this. I'm sorry I broke it.
No, it's no problem. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Good luck.
Yeah, you too.